So we've spoken a lot about Ferrari in this season coming up, how we've got Sir Lewis Hamilton joining the team, about how they could well challenge for the Constructors World Championship. They came so close in 2024, and of course both of their drivers, Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, will be aiming to become Formula 1 World Champion this year. That has to be their aim. Now we've spoken a lot about Hamilton and how his legacy is on the line, how his reputation is on the line. You know, some people think that he's washed, he's a has-been, he's too old, he can't do it anymore in Formula 1, which I honestly reject that claim, because for a start you've got Fernando Alonso still being a top driver in my opinion, who's 3 years older than Hamilton. He might be even older than that, to be honest. But we've not spoken too much about Leclerc, because Leclerc is a guy that I really rate highly, that a lot of people think is good enough to be a world champion, but the only time he's ever come close to winning the world championship was in 2022. In those early stages of the season, Ferrari and Red Bull exchanged wins, but it quickly fell away. He made some mistakes, most notably at the French Grand Prix, where he just spun off a mistake that at the time I could not believe he actually made. I thought it had to have been some sort of mechanical issue to be able to do that, but it was his fault. But let's talk about Leclerc. Let's talk about how his reputation could be on the line this season in 2025. Because if Sir Lewis Hamilton, who is older 40 years of age, comes in and absolutely wipes the floor with Leclerc, which I don't think will happen. I think that's very unlikely to happen. But if that was to happen, it'd make him look rather bad at that point. It really would ask questions about how good this guy is. I think the likelihood of that happening is extremely slim for a number of reasons. But let's have a look at this article here on the F1Chronicle.com, guys, because like I said, it's something that's not really been spoken about that much when it comes to this upcoming season. One of Italy's most celebrated Formula 1 journalists thinks that Charles Leclerc's reputation is on the line in 2025. Although just 27 this year will be Leclerc's 8th consecutive season on the grid, and he retains his reputation as one of F1's very best drivers, but some have begun to question whether he will ever break through for a title. This year, the Monegasque is being joined at Ferrari by 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. But Alevi, whose time at La Gazzetta dello Sport dates all the way back to Enzo Ferrari's days, wow, this guy is experienced, thinks that Charles Leclerc may well have a point to prove this year. The fact that someone said that Hamilton's arrival is good for Leclerc because it will allow him to grow is something that Charles probably didn't like, he wrote in his latest column for Auto Sprint. While Hamilton has already won so much, Leclerc has to beat his new teammate to defend his reputation at Ferrari, and in Formula 1, he added, a defeat would make Leclerc eternally second. Strong words, but I see where he's coming from. While Ferrari team boss Frédéric Vasseur is famously close to Leclerc, also true is that Vasseur's relationship with Hamilton also stretches back to his junior Formula days, when Charles Leclerc was not even a teenager. They go back all the way to the GP2 days in 2006, of course, if not even before that. Charles has been described as probably a little prematurely as il predestinato. So, oh my god, my Italian's terrible. The predestined champion, Alevi continues. But someone at Ferrari has already described Hamilton as the Messiah, which suggests to me that the team already has sided with him. That puts Charles in a tricky position, he concludes. I don't know. I won't read. I mean, yeah, you can call Hamilton a lot of things. People have got a lot of names for him, put it that way. A lot of good names, some bad names too. We'll focus on the good though here for this video. Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, I think that the situation that Leclerc finds himself is a challenging one. And I also think that the situation that Hamilton finds himself is a challenging one too, because you've got two alpha males, you've got two top dogs there effectively, you know, Hamilton at Mercedes for so long. And I know people will say, oh, he got beat in his last few seasons. He was still the main man. He was still the main man. The paychecks don't lie at the end of the day. Criticize him all you want. He was the main guy at Mercedes, and they didn't want to get rid of him either. And you've got Charles Leclerc, who has been the main man at Ferrari, undisputably really since 2020, since he absolutely destroyed Vettel in that season. You know, for me, he's been the top dog in that team for a long time. So it's going to be interesting. There is potential for flare-ups. There is potential for big problems. I mean, we've seen this in teams before. Go all the way back to Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna at McLaren. Two top drivers in the same team. It did not mix. It did not go particularly well. Yes, they had a lot of success, of course, but from a team dynamics point of view, it was a nightmare. Now, I don't really see that with this. I don't really see that. And of course, you know, Hamilton has experience of difficult teammates. His first rookie, his rookie season in 2007, who was his teammate? Fernando Alonso. And they only lasted at that team together for a season. Alonso went back to Renault for 08. Now, I don't see that happening with this. I feel like there's a much different dynamic. The problem is what you usually get, in my experience, I mean, it's not always the case. There are exceptions to it. Think Jacques Villeneuve and Jenson Button at Honda, early 2000s. Those two didn't get on at all, and those two had completely different dynamics. Villeneuve was, of course, a champion in 1997, looking to resurrect his career. Button was very much one of the up-and-comers in Formula 1 at that time. They didn't get on. But in general, when there's a very different dynamic between two different drivers, they do get on. Look at Hamilton and Bottas. Hamilton names Valtteri Bottas as his favourite teammate ever in Formula 1 because I think he said something like he was no nonsense, no rubbish, no two letters that I can't say together, otherwise this video will be monetized, but you can guess what they are. You know, and there was a very different dynamic there. Bottas, younger driver, someone who had never won a world championship, never even won a race before he went to Mercedes. Hamilton, multiple world champion, looking to become one of the GOATs of the sport, and he did that, of course. And I see something similar here with Leclerc and Hamilton too. It's a very different dynamic. You've got Hamilton as the most successful driver in the history of the sport, looking to join the most successful team in the history of the sport and become, without a doubt, you know, one of the, I mean, he's already one of the GOATs for sure, but at that point, you are then one of the GOATs for Ferrari, which is a different thing. That is a different thing, you know. And it would take a lot for him to do that, but stranger things have happened. And then you've got Charles Leclerc, who's trying to win Ferrari's first world title as a driver for the first time since 2007. Helped them to win their first title of any kind since 2008 when they won the Constructors. So it's a very different dynamic between the two drivers. They always say that opposites attract and similar personalities clash. I see them as not quite opposites, but different enough not to have the same kind of problems as what you might have at other teams. But like I said, there are examples where two very different drivers do clash. Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber being another really good example of that at Red Bull. They were very different drivers, different personalities, different points in their career, but they did not like each other towards Red Bull. So we'll see what happens. For my money, I think they'll get on and they'll do all right, but there is always that potential there. There is always that potential there for a flare-up, particularly if, you know, Leclerc feels like he's been hard done by or something. As if that narrative that this journalist is trying to get across does end up manifesting itself, Leclerc could lose it. He could make a mistake. He could do something silly. And the same thing could happen to Hamilton too. Although the likelihood of Hamilton doing something outrageous, in my opinion, is very low. We've not really seen that side of him ever in Formula 1. And I feel like we would have seen it by now if it would have happened. I know there's been some dodgy incidents here and there with Hamilton over the years, but you compare the controversies with Hamilton on track to Alonso, Verstappen, Schumacher, you're really going at slim pickings there. But what do you guys think? How will Hamilton and Leclerc get on at Ferrari? Is this kind of a last chance saloon for Leclerc? Not for Hamilton, for Leclerc really, because if he doesn't perform, if he gets beaten by Hamilton in his own team, the team that he's been with since he was a boy basically, it's a pretty bad look at that point, isn't it? It's not great for Leclerc, and it's not going to do his confidence any good either. Your thoughts in the comments below. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always, guys, and we'll keep bringing you the content here on the F1Chronicle.com as always. News, opinion pieces, everything in between. Have a great day, have a great week. See you soon.